What happens when you combine aspects of Crusader Kings, Total War, RPGs, and city builder-ish elements? Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord happens. How does it fare? Watch on and find out.
My name is Thoraxe, and this is Strategy for Busy People. If you've got a few minutes, I'll tell you what to play.
Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord by Tailwords Entertainment is quite an interesting title. In fact, it was interesting enough that I sunk 35 hours into it. Right off the bat, one of the interesting things about it is that it's a relatively closed open world? Huh? The kingdom in which the game takes place, Calradia, represents the extent of the world. Calradia's map is closed in the sense that there are specific locations on the map that you can interact with, but there are quite a lot of them. A number of nations or factions make up the ownership of these locations, which consist of a mixture of small villages, castles, and large settlements. In campaign mode, the game starts off innocuous enough, giving you a little tutorial of the combat systems and then tossing you into the main map to find your family. But almost immediately, the open nature of the game starts to immerse you. As you visit the various local towns and villages and experience travel across the map, you start to realize the immensity of it all. And then you have no idea what you're doing because, well, you can do quite a few things. Fundamentally, the game loop is more or less that you amass troops and then go on various quests related to your goals. Completion of quests increase your standing with the key figures in the game and offers benefits like the ability to recruit higher-level troops. Your statistics determine how many troops you can command at once in your personal army. Doing things increases your experience, which gives you levels in the related skills, which makes you better at them. The skills are varied across combat, leadership, and other areas that align with classical-looking fundamental characteristics like vigor and intelligence. Another interesting aspect of the game is the companion system. You can recruit various companions, for a fee, of course, to your party. These companions have been around the block a few times, so they have much higher starting skills than you. Your party also has 4 jobs that can be handled by you as the leader or by a companion. So, for example, hiring a companion with a high stewardship skill right out of the gate will dramatically increase your troop recruitment capacity. More bodies on the field means you can more easily dispatch your enemies, whether they are bandits or opposing faction forces. Ultimately, the RPG elements of the game more or less determine the quote-unquote build of your character, which should tie closely to your playstyle. This shouldn't be unexpected to long-time RPG players, but it may seem a little counter to kingdom management or strategy people. All of that being said, unless you intend to mostly be fighting one-on-one on the field or living in tournaments and ignoring the main story, you're likely going to end up focusing on various leadership areas to gain the buffs that come from them. That's another thing. As you level up skills, you get to choose various buffs associated with those levels, and there's a subsystem of focus points that unlock higher levels in particular skills. The ultimate achievable skill level is also determined by the base attribute. So, in the case of stewardship, if you have a brick poop house of a brain, even with a lot of focus points, you're going to have a low level cap. So, speaking of leadership in combat, how does combat work in the game? You are the commander of your army, and once you get above 20 troops, you can break that army up into various units. When you enter the command mode on the field, time slows and you can issue orders to your units. Realistic military tactics can absolutely pay off here. Don't send your lightly armored archers up ahead of your heavily armored infantry, and watch out for the cavalry trying to flank you. The various unit types in the game are well thought out, and each faction has slightly different units. The Azurai are a desert-inspired people with Middle Eastern-looking units and weapons. The Batanians are a mountain/forest people and have appropriately Viking-inspired thematic elements. Even if you declare yourself aligned to a particular faction, you can still assemble troops from any faction. There is no real quote-unquote perfect troop setup, only something that aligns with your desired tactics and playstyle. Do you want to field a force of 100% mounted units? You can do that. But understand what the drawbacks are. Personally, I went cavalry heavy and then had a large quantity of heavy infantry with a small force of archers. Similar to your own character, units have levels and gain experience as they fight. While you can initially only recruit the equivalent of pajama-wearing peasants to fight with you, they can level up to formidable units. Upgrading your units comes with a one-time upgrade cost, presumably to pay for their equipment. However, it also comes with an ongoing maintenance cost in the form of unit salary. If you're not careful, it's easy to upgrade yourself into a corner where you're spending thousands per day on your armed forces, but aren't able to make very much money at all to pay for them. And when you can't pay them, their morale will plummet until they desert. And not the tasty kind. Money-making is quite an important aspect of the game for various reasons. It's required to pay your forces, as previously mentioned, but also required to buy equipment for your army, as previously mentioned, or to buy equipment to upgrade yourself and your party members. You also need to ensure that you have enough food for your army, which costs money. Food variety in your party is also a factor in party morale, and troops whose morale is too low are in danger of being broken on the battlefield and fleeing. Now, none of this talk of battle is to say that you have to personally direct every conflict. You can also simply send your troops into battle and let the computer auto-resolve the conflict. Once you've done a lot of battles, you start to get a feel for which conflicts will be interesting to personally control and which are not worth your literal and figurative time. So, you're warring, fighting, earning, and doing other things, but what's this campaign actually about? Well, it's more or less about control of the whole kingdom. You can either choose to reconstruct the old empire or to build a new kingdom. And within the latter, you can choose to back an existing leader or to try to forge your own kingdom. There are more or less 3, if not 4, primary storylines to choose from in this regard, and each will have its own sub-stories, consequences, and requirements. I chose to become a vassal of the Aserai and back their leader in forging a new kingdom. Once you become a vassal, a new level of gameplay becomes open to you, as you can be gifted castles or settlements that control the nearby villages. Controlling territory comes with the expected challenges of a governorship. You have to manage security, loyalty, a garrison of troops, food production, and other aspects. And if your country is at war, your castle is at risk of being besieged. There's an interesting mini-game of siege warfare and unique aspects to the on-the-ground combat when conducting or defending in a siege. Look, I've barely scratched the surface of what's in this game. What with about 20 hours in, I was just getting into the groove, and then I discovered mods. Oh god, not this again. I may have mentioned it before, but I played Skyrim. A lot of Skyrim. Except that most of my playtime was playing the mod game. You know, I installed some random graphical update, like an apple, and then fast traveled to all the spots to find that apple in random places to see how it looked, only to decide I wanted a different apple. It was kind of like that, but not as bad, sort of. There are an awful lot of mods for this game. Want to make it look like real continental Europe? Sure. Want to add a ton of diplomacy options that don't exist natively? Yep, that too. Fancy new armors? Checkaroony. Fortunately for me, a lot of the mods I looked at wouldn't have worked with my existing save game, but many did. So I fired up a bunch and kept on truckin'. Before I give my final verdict, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Agree with me, disagree with me, or want to see other content? Let me know in the comments below. Want to try this game yourself? Check out my humble affiliate link below. And if you want to support me in making more of these videos, become a patron on Patreon. Your support really makes a difference. The final verdict. This game really has a lot to offer. On the harder difficulty levels, I am sure that military tactics, strategic planning, and other aspects of the game would bring an even greater challenge. However, the active Discord for this game did frequently complain about how dumb the AI was at all levels. Combine that with the sandbox mode for varying starting conditions and other things like no aging along with all the mods, and you could really get sucked into this game for so long. Maybe that Star Wars total conversion will come out. On my trademark 3-point score scale of avoid, meh, and I forgot to eat, I had stocked my army with grain, grapes, beer, and horses, but I'll be damned if I even know what day it is at this point. This game sucked me in like nothing has in quite some time, and I am actually eager to play it more and try more mods. But alas, the kingdom will have to wait for my triumphant return because I probably should bathe. Did the cats kill my wife?